I kept asking myself the question, why did AZRIEL go to Las Vegas? Why did Shabazz film in Las Vegas? And how did she end up at Larry's house? I kept picking Shabazz's memory, picking his brain, putting the pieces together to come up with something that made sense, because it just wasn't making sense. And then I kept focusing on what I knew to be true. I knew that AZRIEL supported Robert up until she went to Vegas. I knew that AZRIEL did not know Larry McGee. I knew that there was no logical reason for AZRIEL to go from staying at the Venetian for 3 nights to staying at Larry's house. So I had to look at how she was lured to Las Vegas. And the only thing that made sense was Drake's residency there. So I stayed on that train of thought. What if she was lured to Vegas with the promise that she would go to his concert? That made sense because she was dressed up ready for a concert but couldn't get in. What if Larry McGee told her he could get her music to Drake if she stayed there a few more days? Shabazz left, her father left. It didn't make sense for her to stay there with people she didn't know, in a house with handicapped kids, a dog, a daughter, a wife. Why would she stay there with people she doesn't know, unless there was the dangling of a promise in front of her? Larry told me himself she didn't want anybody talking about the R. Kelly situation when she was there. But he had to keep her there. So he had to keep something in front of her, keep dangling something in front of her to keep her in Vegas, to keep her in his house. And I think the only thing that could have done that is the promise of a meeting with Drake. I believe Larry lied to her. I believe Larry said, I can get your music to Drake. Drake wants to meet you, or whatever he said, to keep her in Vegas, to buy him time. And when the ripe opportunity presented itself, he swooped in and bombarded her with information. The most significant was illegal emails that were stolen from Robert's personal account at the MCC. So if he used illegal contraband that was stolen, and he lured her there under false pretenses, and he manipulated her, then her being a Jane Doe was an illegal process. He was the one that orchestrated this. He was the puppeteer. And therefore, she must tell Judge Ann Donnelly the truth, because this entire process of her being a Jane Doe was a sham. I don't believe AZRIEL would have turned into a victim had she not gone to Las Vegas. I don't believe she would have turned into a federal informant if she had not gone to Las Vegas. She was lured to Las Vegas by Larry McGee, who pretended to have tickets to the Drake concert. Then she was lured to Larry McGee's house under the pretense of him getting her a meeting with Drake to listen to her music. While at Larry's house, he used everything that he could, using his daughter, his mother, his wife, to get her to start to talk about R. Kelly. Once that happened, he showed her illegal emails that were stolen, emails that were illegal contraband. He used illegal contraband, the private property of the federal government that was stolen, that was the personal information of their inmate, Robert Kelly. He used that to manipulate AZRIEL CLARY. Personal, private information that she would have never otherwise seen. That is coercion, that is manipulation, that is brainwashing. Using illegal contraband that was stolen from a prison from an inmate. She, in her fragile state, went to Chicago very upset, and Larry continued to control her, to manipulate her, to coerce her. He got on a FaceTime with the feds and put her on a call with the feds. We hear her on the feds, and he coached her on what to tell the feds, what to give the feds. Then the feds came and picked her up at the hospital. Larry sent him there. He says all of that in his video, how he, his mother, his wife, his daughter, spent days and days and hours brainwashing her, manipulating her, coercing her, using illegal documents that were stolen from Robert's private, supposed to be secured files at the MCC. That means everything Larry McGee did was illegal. His manipulation of AZRIEL was illegal. Him making her into a victim and manipulating her and coercing her was all illegally done. AZRIEL CLARY can go to the sentencing and tell all of this to Judge Ann Donnelly, and Judge Ann Donnelly will be very lenient with AZRIEL. There will be minimal consequences because AZRIEL was manipulated. She was brainwashed. She was lured to Las Vegas. She was lured to Larry's house. She was brainwashed. And she was put into a position once he showed illegally gotten emails, which is illegal contraband. She was put in a vulnerable position, and he manipulated her every step of the way. That is an illegal process. She has to tell Judge Ann Donnelly that. All of that was illegal. Everything that Larry McGee did in Las Vegas and thereafter with AZRIEL was illegal. He was manipulating her, brainwashing her for his own personal gain. And AZRIEL can prove that. We have the video footage of her sitting next to her father, supporting Robert, as she had done for 4.5 years. She changed when she got under Larry McGee's roof. He used everyone in his household, but most importantly, he had in his possession illegal emails that were stolen from the MCC, private communication that was used to manipulate AZRIEL. She has to tell Judge Ann Donnelly that. And that will get this process on the right track, because everything else was illegal. Larry McGee needs to stay in prison for 8 years because he used illegal contraband. He lured someone to his house. He manipulated and brainwashed them into believing they're a victim. And then he put them in front of the feds to save his own ass. Everything about that was illegal. AZRIEL has to tell Judge Ann Donnelly the truth. She has to tell Judge Ann Donnelly and show her the video footage. The video footage speaks for itself. Every video AZRIEL made prior to going to Las Vegas New Year's Eve 2019 shows she's supporting Robert 100%. After being in the home of Larry McGee, she did a complete 180. And he used illegal contraband to manipulate her with. That can't possibly be a legal process. Judge Ann Donnelly must know about that. We need to have a new process, because this was an illegal conversion of someone who supported Robert, converting them into victimization. There were 45 witnesses on the stand that the government had. Why was AZRIEL the only one that was a federal informant? Because she's the only one that Larry McGee got to. 45 people testified. There were other Jane Does that were not federal informants. John Does were not federal informants. The only one that became a federal informant is AZRIEL, because she was being manipulated by Larry McGee. That is something that Judge Ann Donnelly must know if this process is to be legal. And it's something that the warden at FCI, AZRIEL CLARY, was the victim of Larry McGee. She was a victim of his luring her to Las Vegas under the pretense of going to a Drake concert, luring her to his house under the pretense of setting up a meeting with Drake to listen to her music, coercing her, using his daughter, his wife, his mother, into talking about R. Kelly. And when she finally did let her guard down, he bombarded her with days and days, hours and hours of all types of information. The most significant was stolen emails, illegally gotten from Robert's MCC account that was supposed to be secure, that an ex-federal employee accessed when she accessed R. Kelly's account 153 times. She passed that information to Tasha K., who passed it to Angelo, who gave it to Larry to use to manipulate his daughter. Larry McGee manipulated, brainwashed, coerced AZRIEL into being a victim and into being an informant for the feds. She went to Chicago angry, got into a fight, and you can hear her in the ambulance asking for the feds. Larry, on a FaceTime, put her with the feds, sent the feds to the hospital, and kept manipulating her into federal informant behavior because it benefited him. He got a reduced sentence for his crimes because of his illegal conversion of AZRIEL into a federal informant. AZRIEL CLARY is an illegal Jane Doe. She was an illegal witness for the government. She was their star witness, which means the entire trial was not legal. And Robert must be acquitted, given a new trial, if this is to be a legal process. It must be. As a result of Larry McGee's illegal manipulation, AZRIEL CLARY is an illegal witness for the government. She's an illegal Jane Doe. Her testimony was illegal, which means the trial was illegal. She has to let Judge Ann Donnelly know that. Currently, her reputation is she's a federal informant who shit in a cup and ate it, who has herpes, and now allegations of her going to Dubai, prostituting and stealing money, allegedly. And that's going to follow her the rest of her life. All of that is a result of Larry McGee luring her away from Robert to Las Vegas, and while she was in Las Vegas, using illegal contraband, the illegally gotten emails of Robert Kelly, to convert her into an illegal informant, an illegal witness who gave illegal testimony because it was manipulated. And Judge Ann Donnelly has to know that, and the only person that can tell her that is AZRIEL CLARY. Fortunately, Shabazz has video footage of the majority of this process. He has footage of AZRIEL sitting next to her father and telling him what she truly believes, which is she's not a victim. He has footage of them being in Vegas. And then he has footage of her fighting with Joy, asking for the feds in the ambulance. AZRIEL can fill in the blanks of what happened in Larry's home. She's the only one that has that information. And I'm sure she has communication between her and Larry, text messages and voicemails and emails and things like that she needs to show Judge Ann Donnelly, because Larry McGee used her. He ruined her life by giving her the stigma of federal informant just to save his ass. This has been an illegal process, and the only way to make it right is AZRIEL has to go to Robert's sentencing and tell Judge Ann Donnelly. She will be lenient with AZRIEL because AZRIEL was used and manipulated by Larry McGee. And then Judge Ann Donnelly will do what is legally correct at that point.